Hi, my name is Vicki Young, Senior HSE Consultant stationed in Houston, Texas, supporting projects along the Texas Gulf Coast. Each month, the Health and Safety team brings a monthly safety share to the organization in which we recap significant HSE incidents for the purposes of learning outcomes to prevent the next more serious incident from occurring. I'm happy to bring that to you today. We'll spend the next few minutes together detailing an incident that occurred a few years ago on my watch, in which I served as the lead incident commander following the emergency situation. The information I'll cover today is highly applicable to current operations and offers a lot of insight into how to properly manage emergency situations. August 18th, 2022, I was working as the HSE manager at the Spindletop Operating Facility in Southeast Texas when a significant near miss and environmental release incident occurred. At approximately 12:30 p.m., a member of the operations team reported a leak coming from a large chlorine tank that was used in a water treatment service area of our location. The tank that was holding chlorine gas had developed a leak, releasing chlorine gas into the surrounding area. 400 employees were working on the site at the time of the incident, but many of them were gone due to the lunch hour. The incident occurred at 12:30 p.m. No fatalities or injuries occurred. Impact to the environment was minimal, but there was some damage done to the chlorine tank, of which will have to be repaired. Our company is a tight-knit group of employees, many of whom are related to one another in some way. And we're just on the outskirts of a small town of just about 3,500 people. Word travels quickly around here, and the media were on the scene almost immediately. Several key people played a role in mitigating the impact from this incident. Each of these key contacts had an independent role and responsibility in the incident response and throughout the action item closeout. Those key players were the plant manager, the operations manager, the HSE field site managers, and the client representative. Given the fact that this incident occurred during the lunch hour where many of our employees were off-site, investigators don't know exactly how long the leak had been going on before it was reported. Turns out we were pretty lucky in that case because the risks of chlorine exposure are many. I'll cover a few of them with you here today. If chlorine is in the air, people can be exposed through skin or eye contact or just by breathing in chlorine gas. Chlorine gas is heavier than air, so it sinks to lower areas and increases the risk of exposure in lower lying areas. The National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health, or NIOSH, recommends an exposure limit of just 0.5 parts per million during any 15-minute work period. Chlorine gas is a greenish-yellow color with a strong odor that irritates the eyes, mucous membranes, and the respiratory system. Exposure to chlorine can cause coughing, chest pain, vomiting, and breathing changes. Exposure to higher concentrations of chlorine can cause lung injury, pulmonary edema, and even death. Concentrations of 400 parts per million and beyond are generally fatal after just 30 minutes. And at 1,000 parts per million and above, fatality ensues within just a few minutes. As is the case following all environmental release incidents, incident responders follow the CDC recommendations when crafting an incident response appropriate for the emergency situation. The day this incident occurred was a warm day with sunny and clear outdoor conditions. The affected chlorine tank is housed inside of the water treatment service area of the operations plant. And the employee that reported the leak entered the water treatment facility with another colleague and immediately smelled what he described as the smell of bleach as they approached the chlorine tank. They described the odor as sharp and burning, and immediately knew they were smelling chlorine gas. The pair of employees immediately left the area and called the plant manager on the radio to report the incident. As soon as that was done, our team of key contacts assembled and began prioritizing the response according to recommendations from the CDC and by referring to our company's emergency action and response plan. Priority number 1, isolate the leak. While donning an approved respirator, the plant manager entered the water treatment service area, approached the tank in question, and closed the isolation valve that was located upstream of the leaking valve to cut off the flow of chlorine gas. Priority number 2, evacuate the area and stop all incoming plant traffic. While the plant manager was working to isolate the leaking valve, the operations manager began efforts to evacuate the water treatment service area building and the other buildings on site. All employees were directed to gather at the muster point referenced in the plant's emergency response plan. Chlorine gas is heavier than the air in the atmosphere, so it will sink in the presence of other gases. All evacuated employees were directed to muster at a point of higher elevation than the leaking tank. Priority number 3, notify emergency services. The HSE manager called in the incident to local emergency authorities. Nobody appeared to be physically affected by the gas release, so no further notifications were necessary. However, had an employee experienced prolonged exposure to the gas, the sicker they may become as they breathe the chlorine. Priority number 4, assess and improve ventilation. Once the plant manager confirmed the leaking valve was no longer leaking chlorine and the valve was closed or isolated, he opened the bay doors and facility windows to improve ventilation. Priority number 5, repair and replace the damaged tank and faulty valve. The surrounding town amongst the facility is a close-knit group of people. It's a small town of just 3,500 people, and word travels really fast around here. Sometimes the word that's traveling so fast isn't always 100% accurate. We understand that this challenge requires a thoughtful response when emergencies occur. A coordinated approach to addressing the media in a timely manner at a designated location really helps to minimize rumors that sometimes pop up on social media, and by ensuring consistent, accurate, and timely information from verified sources. When the media is gathered in one central place, it becomes easier to use them as a resource for disseminating important or critical safety information to the public. Since reporters create news stories for the general public, it's important to provide clear, concise, and easy to understand statements about ongoing events. People want to know what happened, how it affects them, and what steps the facility is taking in advance and in response. Preparing responses and alert messages in advance under low-stress conditions allows facilities to deliver accurate, concise, and specific information when needed. Information like this is crucial to be included in an emergency response plan for quick reference during an emergency situation. Pre-scripted messages can be really helpful to consider. They enable emergency updates and other critical details to be quickly shared across social media and other channels. In our case, we had a command center where all media representatives were asked to report the day of the incident and in the days following as media presence remained. We discussed and developed talking points amongst the key contacts team, and one person was designated to handle all media requests for additional information following those talking points. Designating and training a spokesperson to handle media interactions is really essential during an emergency response situation. At Spindletop, this role is filled by the Public Information Officer, otherwise known as the PIO. He also serves as the facility's operations manager. Having a dedicated PIO and ensuring all staff direct media inquiries to this individual only helps to prevent misinformation and ensures that messaging remains accurate and coordinated. A PIO should have a strong understanding of facility operations and chemical processes. They must be accessible to the media, proactive, credible, and flexible in high-stress situations like emergencies often are. They should be able to communicate with authority, providing clear and reliable information. The chlorine gas leak at the Spindletop operating facility on August 18, 2022, serves as a critical learning opportunity for all HSE professionals. While no injuries or fatalities occurred, the potential consequences of such an incident highlight the importance of swift emergency response, proper communication, and ongoing risk mitigation. Through immediate action by key personnel, including isolating the leak, evacuating employees, notifying emergency services, ensuring proper ventilation, the impact was effectively minimized. Additionally, the response to the media and community concerns demonstrated the importance of clear and consistent communication during emergency situations. This incident reinforces the necessity of preparedness, regular training, and a well-coordinated emergency response plan. By learning from this event, we can continue to refine our safety protocols and prevent future incidents, ensuring the health and safety of employees, the community, and the environment.